That is how deep our snowbanks actually are. That is not a trick of the camera angle. Barely is well above my head. He wants me to throw a chunk of snow for him. Let's see if I can do that. Now, if you're going to ask, that line coming in is the, good catch. Good boy. That's the line coming in from the solar panels. But this is how deep the snow is. It's about level with the eaves of the house. This is the middle of March, and it is obviously snowing right at the moment. So I wanted to do a little update about Snowpack and so on. I just love watching him bounce around up there way over my head. Anyway, while he does that, and he likes to eat his snowballs, I'm going to set this down and talk to you guys for a minute. Silly puppy. So, middle of March, and I think our snowpack has probably reached its deepest level for the year, just from looking at the forecast. I'm sure we will continue to get snowstorms, absolutely, we usually do the whole way through March and most of April, but I think there's going to be some days above freezing, and it looks like it's going to start to compact. Now there is, as I think I've mentioned before, a difference between the snowfall and the snowpack. The snowfall is whatever, it's snowing right now, so it'll snow an inch, and then 2 or 4 or 10, 21, whatever the case may be, and if it does, say, 10 inches in one day, and then 10 inches the next day, the first 10 inches is going to compact some, both from the gravity of the second 10 inches being on top of it, and from just sinking, settling, sometimes compacting if it warms up, but more often something that I believe is called transpiration, when it's way below zero and the moisture actually starts to evaporate out of it. You may be familiar with this if you have ever had an ice cube tray in your freezer where the ice cubes all shrank or even totally disappeared if it was in there long enough, that even though it didn't warm up and they didn't melt, but the water went somewhere. That's what happens to the snowpack as well. When we get days well below freezing, it kind of evaporates up out of the snowpack, and then often makes pretty hoarfrost and turns into glittery diamond crystals in the air and so on. So the snowpack around here at the moment, I actually got my tape measure out and measured that bank Burley's standing on the other day. It's not quite as high as I thought it felt like from throwing snow over it, but it is close to 9 feet high, and I think it may have shrank an inch or two in the last couple days. He wants me to throw more snowballs for him because this is his favorite game. Anyway, we did have a couple sunny days, and so I think things settled and compacted a little bit. Though this came down as soft, fluffy snow, this has compacted now to that wall feels like it is poured concrete. So that's the snowpack, and that's like close to 9 feet where I've been shoveling snow out in the flat, untouched, not plowed, not messed with, not wind drifted areas. It's a good solid 7 feet, and it's going to be a little fluffier because this has had more weight shoveled onto it, so it's compacted more. Anyway, total snowfall, our average for the area here is about 450 inches for the year, and my puppy is back for another snowball. And of course, averages are made by some years being more than that and some being less than that. Comparison, and while the Decembers, Januaries, and Februaries all looked different as well, here's the various Marches through the 5 different winters that I have been in my tiny house. Quite a variation. And so for the whole total year, we are actually just a bit over the 450. We're getting close to 500 inches. I'm on the kind of the foothills of the mountains, so I get more snow than out in the flat valley areas, and I get less snow than the very mountain peaks, but we're approaching 500 inches, so that's just a little above average for the whole winter. Now the thing that was different this year is we were below average for December and January, and then in February we got a record amount of snow for the month. We broke the all-time record for most inches of snow in the month of February by almost more than double. It was, I think, by the 13th of the month we'd surpassed the last record. So there was some significant snowfall in February for sure. It was a pretty crazy month, and it's still snowing now, and we're in the middle of March. And as I said, that will continue for a while, but it does look like we have some warmer days where at least during the day it's going to get above freezing and, still below freezing at night. So some of this should start to settle some, and just if we get sunny days, which there is also some of in the forecast that helps with the evaporation and so on of some of the snow. So I think our snowpack, while it's certainly not going to be gone tomorrow, is going to start going down instead of continuing to go up. So I just wanted to show you what it looked like at the point in time where I think it's about the deepest it's going to be all year. Again, we've got Burley up on top there, wanting another snowball thrown for him. He loves fetching these. So this is what the snow looks like along the sides of the house. I've still got a pretty good solid snow skirting all around there, shoveled off level with the tops of the windows, and looking out there is much higher across there than it is in the up against the house. So this camera is right about at my eye level, and I'm a little over 5'8" to give you a perspective on what this looks like. Hi, baby. Hi, are you looking at the camera? Yeah? Anyway, so, level with the bottoms of the windows here, but much higher on this side. And that continues the whole way around the house. He and the moose have kind of made a path going through there to get out, but otherwise this continues on around the house, etc. It has been a fairly crazy winter as far as you can see the birdies coming and going from their little feeders. I think they have really appreciated having sunflower seeds to eat this year. And here's looking down the path toward the little tool shed. Hey, Bailey, let's see if I can find any loose. The snow still doesn't make snowballs, but sometimes I can find something I have previously shoveled and made a chunk out of that is loose. Not always. There, I'll get that one. Oh, you want to chase this? Here you go, baby boy. Anyway, that's how deep it is out here. I have been able to keep these paths shoveled all year, and it is nice and easy to walk along here. Up there where Burley is, kind of up above the top of the van, over there's the house. Sniffing that light in the summer, I can't reach without a ladder, and licking don't eat the clothespins. They're not toys, baby. They're not. The wash line, which actually works in the summer. Let's see if we can get over here to show you how deep the snow is. I don't know if I can get back far enough. There. See that little dot right there? That's the top of an 8-foot steel T-post sticking out. And just for comparison, let's see what the one over here by my apple tree is looking like. That hump is on top of the swing set. If you have ever been here in the summer, hope you can see a tiny bit of its post sticking out. You have probably sat on that swing set beside the fire. And out there, oh, you found a pine cone. Good job. Clear out there, you can see the tiny bit of the stake, which is the same height, sticking up beside the tippy top of the apple tree. And again, those areas are just flat, untouched. Snow hasn't been plowed or shoveled or piled or wind drifted or anything there all year. That's just how deep it is, other than whatever tracks Burley made through it. Now the snow load on roofs, as you can see, mine always slides off. That's partially because my roof is small and metal and dark colored, so I never have a problem with the snow load. In fact, I have to hurry out there if I want to get shots of what it looks like with snow still on the roof, because it slides off so promptly. But the building codes for the area I live in require roofs to be built to take 180 pounds per square foot of snow weight, and there has been some of the older buildings aren't built quite that strong, and so there has been a lot of roof shoveling going on this year. But even the ones that are built to take that kind of snow load, the one one large shop at a place where I work is built. It's, you know, relatively newer construction. It's built to take that, and they're not worried about the roof collapsing, but there is enough weight on it that it's flexing the wood frame enough to have cracked the drywall on the interior the whole way across the building. So that maybe gives you an idea, depending what kind of snow you're used to, how much this actually is. When a building built to hold 180 pounds per square foot actually is flexing the building frame enough to, you know, split the drywall on the inside of the building. Anyway, that's what the house looks like from the far end of my driveway. This is where I take a lot of my pictures in the summer. So for comparison, this is the summer view from that same spot. And just to show you just how fast it can pile up at times, here's a 15-minute time lapse of the snow piling up around the bird feeders in the middle of one of the storms. If you're watching closely, you can actually see those snowbanks just growing up right around the feeders itself. And then there's the roads. People often ask about being snowed in, which I did a video on, and how does my van do in the snow, and so on. So this is what our roads have looked like for much of the winter. I am actually going to let you listen to what it sounds like for just a minute. This is, given that I do have an old vehicle, but even in a newer vehicle, this is how bumpy and rough that snowpack surface actually got as it was starting to warm up just a little bit some of these days. That was really smooth for most of the winter driving on that snowpack. That is a paved road under there, but it is now it's now like a washboarded dirt road feeling when you drive across it. That is due to the snow base starting to break up just a bit. And that is actually looking just at eye level out the side windows, so you can see how it's a bit like driving in a tunnel at this point, because either side you look out of, that is all you can see directly out the side. You know, you can see a vehicle in front of you, and sometimes you can see a moose in front of you. I actually just saw two turn into a lane here. There goes a cow and a calf. But that's what the winter driving has been like. My van is awesome in the snow. I have no complaints. When the roads are this rough, you definitely go slow, because otherwise you will get your head smashed against the ceiling or a window or something like that. I don't know if the camera really communicates quite how bumpy and pitted that surface is becoming, but that is what it looks like and feels like. This is going the little lane, which actually, because it gets much less traffic, going straight up to my house. This is what that looks like. Much smoother. And then there's this is all winter driving. There's nighttime driving along those roads too. Again, you can see, looking out the windows, how you've got solid walls. You can see there, they were actually, that day they were recently pushed back by one of the giant graders, but giant walls that you can't really see over. So for that reason also, you want to go a bit slow, because if there's an animal like a moose in the road, you're not going to be able to see it much ahead, and it's probably not going to be able to easily get out of the road until there's a lane or something it can turn off into. Not to mention that while this is a 2-lane road, at this point with this much snow in the winter, it's not really plowed as 2 lanes anymore. It's more like a wide single lane, so if there is oncoming traffic, you definitely want to slow down and pass each other carefully. Oh, and then all this snow brings me to the other question I've been getting asked: what about flooding when it all melts? Well, for one, no matter how it melts, my house is not going to flood. As you can see when I drove up the hill in my van to it there a minute ago, I am up on a hillside, so for my place to be underwater, the entire valley wall to wall would have to be underwater at the same time, so that is not going to happen. But as far as flooding in the more low-lying areas, that could happen. It doesn't really matter so much. Here's a quick look at my plow snowblower guy who showed up, the one that's been keeping my lane open so lovely all winter, one evening. Anyway, it doesn't matter so much how much snow it is, but more how it warms up. If we get very warm days and it stays above freezing overnight, the snowpack will start to melt rapidly, and that will involve flooding for sure. If it warms up during the day and then gets below freezing at night and goes back and forth like that for a while, there may be no flooding at all. But either way, I'm not concerned about the flooding at my house. Cool. Fairly. Good baby. Come on. Good boy. Then there's just some more random shots I wanted to share. It has been cold for a lot of the winter, occasionally getting above zero, but a lot of it below zero. This is just a bunch of random different mornings. This is how deep the snow actually is compared to a full-size pickup driving down a lane. And those are buck rail fences that would normally keep in livestock like horses or cows in the summer, and all you can see now is the little bit of bumps where they're letting you know that there is a fence under there somewhere. Then we have the road signs along the roads, as you probably gathered from some of the driving down the road videos. This is how buried they have been. Some are actually deeper now and completely invisible, but this was all you could see of them for a little while. Then we've got more snow stakes marking lanes. Again, 8-foot T-posts. That's the short ends. The little flaggies on top are extensions that are higher than that to let the plow folks know where the actual lane is. So anyway, that's just a random compilation of a bunch of stuff to try to illustrate just exactly how deep my snow is right now. Now, as I said, I think the snowpack is about to start going in the other direction and start shrinking instead of continuing to expand, and I will be trying to help it along using several tricks, including using my winter's accumulation of wood stove ash to help melt the snow. I'll be doing a video on that shortly, and so on. But this is what it looks like at the deepest it's going to be this year, I believe. Thought y'all might find that interesting.